Kia ora guys, this is Invisble Sensei podcast number 8 and I've entitled it Martial Arts Killer. And sorry if you were listening in for a secret death touch technique, it's not this podcast. So, I will statements can be the make or break of a martial artist's longevity, especially as we reach a certain maturity in our training, I reckon. And when used in a negative way, can kill your martial arts, hence the name of today's podcast. Anyway, whether you're the middle-aged person who has always wanted to study an art, but life never seemed to present the opportunity, and then suddenly stars align, and you find yourself in the lineup of whatever art your imagination/experience sees fit to insert there. Or you're a lifer who has persevered through the many stages of grades and ego battles, injuries, and the omnipresent style/personality/dojo politics that many within the arts would have you believe are as rare as Bigfoot carcasses. The I wills can be a killer. For the newbie, they may take the form of the following. 1. I will never be able to kick that high. 2. I will never be that flexible. 3. I will never remember all those moves. 4. I will never be able to keep up. For those in the second category, it may be something like 1. I will never be able to recapture that flexibility. 2. I will never get past my back/hip/knee/shoulder injury. 3. I will be a hindrance to the dojo. 4. I will come back when I'm fit again. 5. I will go to training when I feel like it. Without labouring the point, I imagine you get the idea. I say this having had another visit from my friend Mr. Pneumonia. A few years ago, while getting a checkup, I discovered I had some scarring on the lungs as a child from a brush with tuberculosis, which came as a shock to me and to my mother, but has seen me post-40 become a little more susceptible to chest infections, especially when run down. Stay with me, the point is coming, I promise. For most of my training life, I utilised I would just train through it approach, and to be honest, as a teen and into my 20s and partway through my 30s, it seemed to work for the most part. Actually, I once tried to apply the I will approach to a full contact tournament. With no specific training done for the event, I said, I will give it a go and see what happens. This was in my 30s and with a fair amount of ego fuel. It did not go well. In the past 5 years, I have damaged my meniscus and my knees, my lower back, my left hand, my right elbow, my ankle is naught but scar tissue and sticky tape. Oh, and I once got a paper cut as well, perhaps the most feared reading-related injury of all. As the symptoms of my now formally diagnosed illness began to take hold over the last month, I have studiously ignored the congestion in my chest, the body aches, the near hypoxia just trying to breathe, the coughing that threatened to produce a lung, the irritability and the complete inability to get a full night's sleep, as well as being a self-centered martyr and a general pain in the ass to those whom I love the most, by replying to their heartfelt request to seek medical attention with the old, I will be fine. Until the walls came crashing down and I had an enforced visit to my GP for much needed antibiotics and other related meds. You know, it's funny. I ask myself how many times in life, in and out of the dojo, have those sort of sentiments led to really bad personal, professional, and training decisions. Maybe it's a guy thing, maybe it's a human thing. Martial arts are supposedly about self-defense, and I think that the biggest threat to our development can sometimes be trying to maintain some idealized image of what we used to be, or who we might like to be, as opposed to responding to the moment as it presents itself to us. For the beginner, no matter what age, their fear of what might be, of trying to measure up to some invisible bar set by how we measure our worth in comparison to others, can be really dangerous. It can be really demotivating. I think it's important to seek to enjoy those large and small incremental changes that are the rewards in themselves. And it becomes a valuable tool in growing a resilience and skill base. I mean, the ability to take instruction, critique in any field can be hugely beneficial. Of course, as always, our biggest critic is usually the person looking back at us from the mirror. And that's why the I will can also be used as a good thing when used in a different way. It's like, 1. I will be inspired by the examples of others. That's in reference to not getting jealous or envious, because I think it takes away from what we're trying to achieve ourselves. 2. I will find what works for me. And I think it's really important to allow the martial art to form around you rather than try to bend ourselves to these ridiculous shapes to conform to some crazy ideal we have about being Bruce Lee. 3. I will go to the dojo / dojang / kun / gym and just put my gear on and enjoy. It's a great goal. 4. I will be patient with myself and receive instruction with an open mind. 5. This is not really I will, it's more like an I am, but I like it and I try to practice it. And I do stress practice. I am respectful of others' emotions, but not responsible for them. You know, before when we were talking about worrying about letting instructors or your training mates and things like that down, all we can do is our best. And if that person has a problem with us, well, that's kind of their problem. As long as we're giving our best and doing what we can, then that's the part that we own. A friend of mine says, don't let people live rent-free in your head, and they can take care of themselves. Number 6, back to the I wills. I will make the technique I am doing now the best it can be. And an important one for me is, I will strengthen myself, not destroy myself. So, for instance, this morning, I went to the dojo and spent 2 hours cleaning every nook and cranny. Had my headphones on, listening to some music, and to be honest, it was probably the most satisfying training I've had in a while. It's good to get back to the basics of daily chores and to give something back to the space that gives so much to me. Later that morning, my sensei, I'm very lucky in this regard, visited me at home, and we had coffee and we sat down, and he's getting over a flu as well. So we sat down, we talked about martial arts, and we ended up outside inspecting new makiwara some of my nephews very kindly installed on a training visit some months ago. And we enjoyed a great conversation that really left me inspired. We were supposed to meet just for a cup of tea, but it turned into a full-on motivational discussion on training. So we're outside doing a little bit of kata and both coughing our lungs out, but taking it easy at the same time. No geese on this today. You know, I think my I will has led me to make decisions about training that are based on some fear that I won't be what I was. Probably the expense of not being focused on what I can become, and more importantly on the moment I am in. I was very lucky to have met and had an opportunity to train with many great sensei over the years. And as I'm doing this podcast, I'm thinking of Chinen Teruo Sensei of Jundokan International. He once told a group of eager Gashuku students, of which I was one, that for the first 20 years of his training he carried what he termed a broken body. As a 21-year-old I didn't understand, and now in my 40s I totally get it. So I guess the lesson for me is, if martial arts is a lifelong pursuit, then why do I keep looking over my shoulder at what I was at 20? The road ahead, the road I am on, is far more interesting. So my new I will is, as a beginner, I will not fear the future. I will embrace this moment, the session, the technique I am practicing now. I will strive to let go of the past and my fear of the future. I can control neither, so I will be here. Maybe you have an I will of your own that you need to change. Maybe you have some thoughts on this. But either way, I hope your training's going well, and thanks so much for taking time to listen to Invisble Sensei, and looking forward to catching up with you soon. Enjoy your training. Take care.